What is up, guys? You know what time it is. Last week on Instagram, it is your host on Rakely TV, Dax Hill. And, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications, drop a like, help us get boosted in the algorithm so we can get this information out to the swimternet and run this thing. All right, so let's jump into this last week on Instagram. All right, so this is gonna be our grand finale. We already know this. People were not happy about this post. 500 comments, 100. Ooh, we got 500 on the fly one too. Nice. Or likes, but a lot of traffic. All right, so being athletic in the air. So when we're doing, oh man, I need to answer these DMs. Sorry guys, I'm tripping. I was really busy this last week. We're gonna talk about that later on Instagram story. But what we see here is we're trying to, when we think about diving off the blocks, we're going from this crouched down position. Hold on, let's watch these kids wipe out first. Yes, just crashes. Clean, toes up, clean, toes up. Yeah, pretty good. And then, right? So the reason of this is that when we're doing our dive off the blocks, a lot of times what athletes will do, man, this high resolution camera and my crappy computer, it looks good when you all see it, but like on my side, I'm like behind my voice. It's crazy. But okay, so the athletes, a lot of times when they'll dive, their head will stay down, if this is their feet, and their legs will come up to enter the straight line. And what happens is the legs going up, the momentum goes this way, they stall eventually, and then they just come straight down, right? Or it goes like this, instead of the legs being pushed behind the body. Now, for the legs to be pushed behind the body, the upper body needs to extend vertically. Now, as the swimmer rolls in, if they extend vertically as they roll, they end up going flat. Boom. Right? So what we're working on with the standing up first is they're learning how to get into that extension and then pike, because what's going to happen is their body's going to follow that natural arc, right? So they need to get here, but then as they go into this arc, they need to hit the water. And if they change angles too fast, their feet are going to bottom out. So what we want to do is once we get here is hit the right angle so that the water pressure, when it hits the fingertips, because you're going to get kind of that effect a little bit. That's why people scorpion, right? Their legs fling over, just because of the resistance from the vertical, the horizontal vector. So we want to hit, boom, and everything to go through that same hole, right? Because it would follow through. But obviously we snake through and ride it downhill. So that's all it is. It's them getting core control, kind of over exaggerating it. Excuse me. By extending this way and then having to get back down and get their feet back up. And it's fun, especially when you do it with like the whole practice or everybody in the group and everybody gets to see how unathletic each other is. If you got some jokes loaded, let them fly. Let them fly. All right. So the next video we are going to look at, we're going to look at this one. We're just going to go through 3 videos today, guys. Okay, so I really like this video. So the backstory on this, once again, guys, I'll get to the comments. It's been a busy last week. That's why I also only did 4 reels. But I remember watching, and I want to say, usually shout out to Michael Phelps because I know he watches a lot of film. So at this World Champ Trials, and I'm not sure if he changed his recovery at this point or not, but I remember seeing the butterflyer's arms come over, right? And their arms came over like this, like a bent elbow recovery. And when you think about it, when you're doing, like if you're doing fly, if you have a straight arm and your chest goes down, you're entering bicep first. So what they were doing with their bent elbow recovery is they were guaranteeing a finger first entry, and then they get right into their bounce, right? Like they would in sprint freestyle. And I swear to God, like from the side, like all you saw was this like bent elbow recovery and a bent elbow entry. Like it was crazy. It looked like because of all the splashes, you couldn't see people's hips undulating, and their head stayed high, a lot like Sarah's do here. Sarah kind of goes under a little bit, but their heads almost like stayed up the whole time, and they just went like around it, and then there's this like kind of delayed butt up snap that Sarah definitely does. But I just remember seeing that, and I remember the elbow thing, right? And this at the time, you know, a lot of people did butterfly with straight arm recoveries. It's 2013, still do. You do see some natural bent elbows just because that's how people can get their shoulders to the right position and get their elbow on top. Shout out to those people. You know, it's a natural correction that they made. But I remember Phelps around that time started having more of like a elongated bent elbow recovery, right? Because on top of the straight arm recovery for fly, how you reach up to keep the bubbles off of your fingertips, if you wanted to really be aggressive with pulling the knees in and driving that chest press down, your hands, even though you're reaching up, they're going to chop. They're going to not chop in because you're not reaching in. You're reaching up. But they're going to be pulled down with some aggressiveness, right? Now, to further mitigate some, it would be negative propulsion in this case because you're going to hit bicep first. You would here. And that also allows you to get right into your catch a lot better. And if you go look at Phelps's recovery, I want to say it's the 2 fly 2016 Olympic trials. There's a slow-mo, the 2 fly, the 100 fly. We're at the front on view, and you'll see his elbows come around bent, and then at the top of his stroke, they're still kind of bent. So that's how you know somebody watches film. You see them make a change. Maybe he changed it before now, but I know for a fact I recognized it after that World Champ trials. And it may have been 2011. Yeah, because I'd have been in college still. So I think it was 2011 World Champ trials. All right, now I had a video I got to put up that I was a little late getting back up. This dude's talking trash. You know, I'm cool with talking trash, but the moment you try and make it a personal thing, the hooper comes out, dog, and then I got to flame you and block you. Especially like when you ain't paying attention. Like I forget what he said, but it was about I like recorded a video and then, you know, let it rest. And I was like, okay, I got it out of my system. Now let's make the actual reply. And it's a good teaching experience. The video, like I said, I had to delete it. It was on Friday, so the new one will go up either today, you guys watching this, Tuesday afternoon, or it'll go up Wednesday morning. I'm unsure. Depends what time I wake up tomorrow, today, right? Tuesday. But anyway, so this is something that David actually told me that didn't make any sense to me because he explained it as like, get to the chopper, you know. Shout out to Arnold. And he was saying like if you're like hanging off of like a ladder that's hanging off a helicopter, right? He said you would grab it and then you would kind of like pull and swing your arm around and grab the top one. But this hand's up here too. So and obviously you're not one arm strong enough to pull yourself all the way up. So you're kind of like just out front just enough and then trying to grab and then boom. Now when you do that, your swing, you can't do this because you're going to end up wide, right? There's no ladder there. So you got to kind of swing and then get over and then boom, snap through. And, you know, it was, you know, I'm just so accurate. I'm an assassin. One shot, one kill. What's the deal? Navy SEAL, Marine, whatever you want to call it, sniper. Cesar Cielo gave the post a like. So shout out to Cesar. That's my favorite swimmer. You know, he has spoken. He approves. So whoever that was who was, you know, trying to piss on my greatness and Cesar Cielo's greatness, world record holder approves. Check yourself. You already wrecked yourself. But, and so like the point of this, the crossing over, right, is one, there's so much crossing over that happens at the higher level. And this is why the world-class stuff is world-class stuff, because a lot of coaches aren't going to say, hey, athlete, you need to cross over for us to max out your potential. Or if you told them, they're going to wild out. So from the front, right, if I'm swimming with a good posture, I'm keeping all my energy forward down the pool, I'm going to make that bounce. And if I turn too early, which a lot of people do, a lot of people teach their athletes to do this, I'm going to roll here, right? So I'm pushing myself sideways, or I'm going to catch and roll early, push myself sideways. And what we want to do is we don't want to roll early. right? We want any roll to happen. So if you imagine this arm straight down being straight up, just because mathematically it's the same. If I roll, there's very little variation from here to here, right? So predominantly, most of it's going to be in a straight line back. Versus if I'm a little further out too early, it's much wider. Here, much wider, right? So we want to make sure that when we're catching, we're not rolling too early, because we want to make sure that when we connect, it's very narrow. And this is where crossing your midline with the pull, which he thought he was talking about, and he wasn't. He misinterpreted what I was talking about. What he thought he was talking about, I wasn't even talking about. And he misinterpreted that. Like, it was a mess. But you would then drive your hip to that catch. Boom. And now I'm at my front side to my back side. Right? So I'd be here. I pull arm. I bounce. I get over the front. Boom. One, that's important because I want to make sure I'm cutting through the water as I connect my shoulders. And then I'm narrow. Boom. I cross over so I can make sure that this arm stays in a straight line. I'm steering. I call it steering. You're steering with that front arm or with that pull arm. Boom. And that is crossing your, if I draw from here, your midline. All right. If I look at my arm that's pulling, gotta stand up to do it, guys. My pulling arm, I'm gonna be here. I'm there now. If I just roll, right, it's gonna go out here. And that's what makes a lot of these swimmers swing wide, is because they think they're pulling in a straight line because they are relative to their body, but not relative to the bottom of the pool and their body line and going forwards. So you gotta kind of be able to make a 3D model of this technique, or just of anything you coach. And so I'm here, I'm over the top, I cross my midline, and then I'm steering, driving my hip through that shoulder connection. And now you can see this arm still in a straight line. It's right back here, right to that striped bag. But I got to cross over, right? And now I can go bottom hip, top hip. And then I'm boom over the top, driving my hip through, boom, boom, out the back, sorry. Right, so, and I would say personally, granted, the athlete is not just an uber athlete by comparison to swimmers like a Caleb Dressel, which he still does a lot of this stuff right. It's just a little late, a little mistimed. Your top maybe 20, definitely top 20 athletes in the world have all this stuff like very, very, very precise, very deliberate in their timing. And then it's like once you start going above that, you find like more and more errors. Maybe they're not making power. Maybe they're rolling too early. Maybe they're doing catch-up drill and sprint freestyle. Maybe they're wide on one hand, but they're still getting the other hand in front at the right time, or they're counterbalancing mistakes at the perfect time, and then they lift, and all of a sudden the timing's off. Like, anyway, at the top of the sport, like everybody has these details right. And then after that, it's just what's between the ears, right? Your brain's between the ears. But yeah, guys, that's and it's funny too. Like, I don't know how you can misinterpret this because I even show. And the thing is, it's only 0.2 seconds. Like this right here, those fingertips in, that's like a 0.1 second motion. Because as soon as it happens, you're in an attack position where you can use your core and rip through. So you get there, and then it's boom, shoulder, hip. And it's something you can really only see if you're a savant, a student of the game, and you're frame by frame watching what's going down, and then you know, look at other athletes, see what they got going on, and then you start recognizing the common outlier stuff, right? Because these are like the top 20 people in the world that all are doing it perfectly. So there's obviously more than 20 swimmers in the world, right? And the reason why this stuff is so important is because if you're going to make this much power with your pulling techniques, with using your core to pull, you can't have that energy going in bad places. It needs to be as streamlined forward as possible. So that's it, guys. That's last week on the Rakely Instagram. Like I said, I've been busy, so I just updated my website. to try and, like, if you go there, you're like, okay, what are the Rake League Technique solutions? You're gonna be able to go in there and see, like, you know what? What's going on? We're going on a trip in our favorite rocket ship. The sky, little Einstein. Right? So we try to just jump straight in. You know, make sure you get in the mailing list. That's where you can really see, like, what's going on in our Rake League Technique solutions, right? Every week an update goes on about what's the new information, what's the new content, what got reviewed in the one-on-one reviews, and we put in clips of, so you can see what's going up. Now you get in here, it's like, okay, what is this? Well, library functional world record coaching swimming and teammate information. So I either was coached by these people, I used the techniques myself, I swam with them, or they were my teammates and taught me, right? So it's all this stuff put in one place. There's 16 tiers, and we can make this promise about how it's going to help you improve, because we took, like, all this stuff has leakages. And like I just proved, like, crossing over is something you're never going to teach to a 10 and under, right? They're not going to interpret it the right way, because there's like 3 dimensions they got a model in their mind. So we just took, like, what the appropriate way that would be interpreted by a kid, and we edited the typical common drills, like a catch-up drill, to accommodate for those leakages, so they're getting the cut through the water advantages, even though for the 10 and under, like in our content, we don't focus too much on the pull. It's more about the skeleton of the stroke. When this happens, is this in the right place? When this happens, is this in the right place? When you breathe, is the arm in the right place? Is it pointing in the right direction when they put their arm in the water, right? Are they pulling over their breath, or are they breathing in their recovery? So just getting that stuff right. But then it's like, okay, well, we can do the recovery in a certain way to where they get the crossing over, cutting through the water effect. And then that's also going to make them get their shoulder connection. And if they do happen to have a naturally good pull, boom, we take advantage of it. If not, they're going to cut through the water with their kick. And then whatever they're getting out of their shoulders and their pull, they're going to get. Right? So it's finding those. Let's see, I've been doing lessons since I was 14 years old, so over 20 years in the game. And, you know, teaching myself, teaching others. I know for a time, like, the sprint stuff that I kind of made when I was in my senior year at UT got passed on for about, like, the next 7 years. So I've been about it, you know. And, you know, we try to explain it all now. We got a little sale going on before the price goes back up. Get in there, access all 4 strokes, each of their 4 levels of performance. Let's see, where is that? I should have it. Oh, it's not here? Okay, I gotta go add that. Yeah, there should be something that shows all the levels. But yeah, like, where the information came from, the different tiers, like, it's all there, right? It tells you exactly what's in the content, the library, technique library solution. So that's it, guys. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Drop us a like. Help us run this algorithm game in swimming. We need to get this information out to as many people as possible. Athletes fall through the cracks because they don't have these leakages plugged up. So let's do it together. You know what I'm saying? Make sure that you go follow us. Oh, that was almost clean. Make sure that you go follow us and join our mailing list down below. Hit the bell notifications. Peace.